Apart from that, I love to participate in various hackathons, various like go on events, judge some of the, like I have been a part of mentor team hackathons right now, and I've also judged some of the teams, like looking at the projects and giving some advices or mentoring people onto how they can improve. Also, I have like myself been a part of various hackathons. I love to participate in them, and I've even won some hackathons. Like, low conducted one hackathon, and like they offered replacement offer with them. Also, like I participated, like I was one of the top finalists in American Express hackathon. So this is something like I just made you clear so that you can shoot me up with the questions on all these things, or maybe like if you are looking forward to participate in hackathons, if you're looking forward to placements, if you're looking forward to internships. So just making you aware so that you can maybe uh, know more about me, so that you can know what all things you can ask me. Also, apart from that, I have been into a lot of communities. As Rohit already mentioned, I was BSc lead at NIT Jalandhar year 2019 and 20. We conducted a lot of events, like at my campus during my around 30 to 40 of online offline events that were a mix of ML, DL, Android, Selgo. So each and every as a part of being a DSC lead. Also, I have experiences working with uh, uh, Microsoft Student Ambassadors program and AWS Cloud Ambassador. Some things just to make you aware of what I am looking forward to for today. So today's session basically focusing upon on to like this is the agenda for today. I would not much upon this particular deck or particular presentation. I'll go through it very quickly, but I would like to answer your questions, the Q&A. I'm looking forward to that amazing Q&A that you people are going to ask. So as of now, like things so that you can get yourself aware as your placement season is going to come. Of like July or August, companies will start visiting your campus for hiring software engineering roles or for pre-final years. So this will be a generalized, I would say, deck. Tell you more about what is the actual hiring process, projects, what is the importance of DSL, how can you improve your interview skills. So we'll talk about each and everything, and we can have the discussion later on in the Q&A part, right? First of all, I would like to thank DS Institute of Technology for having me here and sharing my journey with so many. Also, I forgot to mention I recently started with my YouTube channel where I help people with tips and all. Also, like I make them aware about certain opportunities that are there and how they get those opportunities in the best possible way, sources that they should prepare from. So yeah, I started up with this channel around, and currently going to 11. Yeah. So about me, next roadmap, interview skills, and before starting with the presentation, there was a quote by Don Johnson. Success is always about greatness. It's about consistent hard work leads to success. Greatness will come. So I would like to before only, like you might have heard a lot, but I would like to most focus is jobs is consistency. Basically, if you are consistent, then nobody can stop you. And consistency, and not only for from placement point of view, it is very important. Like if you want to achieve something, if you want to build something, you need to be consistent in your effort. Whether you are aiming at having a good CGP and getting a job, getting for MS, in you need to be consistent in your study. Sports person, then also you need to be consistent with your practice. So consistency is very important, whichever field you ask. It is the case here as well. Like consistency is something that
Arsh, I lost your audio. I think you're on mute. It shows you're on mute.
Hello,
Yeah,
is it audible now?
I can.
You're again on mute, Arsh. And now we can
I'm
hear you.
just change the screen now. Just move the PPT as of now. Mute or now it's audible.
Can hear you.
Audible, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So
You got muted again. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on.
actually, I'm sharing this. I'm moving on to another tab. It's put to mute when I move on to. When I come back to this tab, it's on. Just let's see what we can do to this thing.
Okay.
Is it audible now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what companies are looking forward to, like some of the things that are most important from company's point of view, like when you're sitting for any placement or anything. So just like these are the things that are required. Like these are not the things that you need to cram or you need to like learn these things, but yeah, basically these are the things that will help you build your problem solving skills, like how you approach to like even in general you any particular case study or you see anything that is not in its perfect right place, so how you can solve that particular is basically how you approach that particular problem. So these things help you develop that skill of getting the things right. So all these make a good problem solver. So these are one programming language. Like you need to learn one programming language, preferably object-oriented programming language, maybe C++, Java. Data structure algorithm skills should be must. Subjects like OSD, computer networks, a bit projects like be like one good projects when you're sitting for internships and two good projects when you're sitting for place. And if you have a knack for open source or competitive programming, that's perfectly fine, right? So which programming language to learn? So, like how to learn any technology or language. So you need to start with any language. You all might have heard of like you might have learned C language in your first year, right? Then you move on to learning any of the language like C++ or Java. Why am Java? Because they are like the most available in C++ or Java. Like you search for get its solution. Like if you haven't are stuck in any problem, is in C++ or Java. So that's why C++ and Java are by people when they are solving questions. This object-oriented programming language, and then start solving more and more questions. Then start solving more and more questions from platforms. First of all, clear your basics of that particular language. Like when you talk about C++, so what an object, what is a class, what is inheritance, what is polymorphism. So all these concepts you should make sure that you know. And then learn standard template libraries in all these languages. Like there's S in C++ and there's collection framework in Java. So these makes the thing easier. I mean to say from easier that they'll kind of code version, like you will have a particular header file that will include all the inbuilt queues or inbuilt stacks. So you don't need to write or make the stack again and again or a queue again and again. SQL will help you for that. And after that you have done all this, well are you at practice? Like more the number of questions or more quality questions you solve, you become a better programming, or that will help you learn more and more, or how you can approach a particular better way. What is the path to DSA? When we talk about data structure algorithms, so you should have a sense of each data structure. Like when we you might known as Narasimha Karumanchi, right? So Narasimha Karumanchi is the most recommended book for practicing DSA. If you are starting, Narasimha Karumanchi has all listed in a very clear and concise way. So you can start from basically this is how you can calculate the time complex. You've already done, so you might be understanding these terms what I'm speaking. How you can optimize your code, operations from each DS, like data stack, how you can build a stack using it, start building a linked list, like how a linked list, each component of linked list is, some dictionary operations, traversals of DS algos, like traversal of data structures like pre-order traversal, post-order traversal, then standard algorithms like searching, sorting algorithms. Like there are a lot of different types of sorting also. So these are things that are important. And then comes the algorithm techniques, like this enough in all the data structures like arrays, stacks, queues, and graphs, dynamic programming. So after there are certain algorithms that you need to master. So like these are certain approaches that mostly questions are based upon these topics, like whether it's a two-pointer approach or sliding window, dynamic bit masking, backtracking, number theory, range queries, traversal based, or some random questions from any source, maybe it's lead or HackerRank. So what is there in DSA that generally people say is part of interviews. So this is the gist of what you need to learn from DSA point of view. Then let's come on to CS fundamentals. So these are asked in all like many interviews. When we talk about good product-based companies, so they'll definitely have subjects like OS and object-oriented programming skills. From OOPS, your design patterns and principles, UML diagrams. From OS point of view, like there are a lot of scheduling algorithms, synchronization, deadlocks, like memory management, kernel, shell. So these are some of the topics from might be built on. Like recently, I was my interview in Microsoft. So his interview was based upon threading. Threading is a topic in OS. So he was asked to write a code in threading. So you never know what the interviewer has thought of asking you. So you need to prepare with these subjects as well. When I talk about the importance of these subjects, so OOPS is the most important, then OS, then DBMS. Computer networks and computer architecture are not asked very much, but yeah, you should be comfortable with some of the basic concepts of CN and CAO also. When we talk about DBMS, so there are relational algebra, SRN-based properties, and SQL queries, particularly like small in interviews. Next, the projects that are there in the third important part when we talk of interviews. So for a project, you need to follow a software life cycle. We call it SDLC. Design, coding, testing, and modular approach. Like you should learn design patterns. Like if you are from CS branch, so you might these terms already. If you are in your 4th semester or 5th semester, so I think you might have gone through these courses. So definitely you might be aware of these terms. You should know every ins and outs of the project, like what that project is basically all about. Like before starting any project, you should know the aim of that project, like why I'm doing this project, what's the benefit of doing this project, right? and then start with the project. Maybe like it can be a project in any field, like if you are interested in web technologies or Android or machine learning or any other field. So choose one particular technology, particular field, like when we talk about web, so you can easily learn in 2 months, 2.5 months, when you talk about web development, a complete full-fledged project with backend and front end. Machine learning, I would say it takes a lot of, it will take you a lot of time in the beginning, but yeah, if you have interest in data science and machine learning, you can go ahead with that. There's no issues like which project you are choosing, but the impact of its usability, its feasibility, how you can improve upon that project, these things you should be aware of, and mention those things to the interviewer actually in that project, because he can grill you at any point. From projects that are expected, ask question like, if I have built a project, what kind of questions will an interviewer ask from me? So he'll first, maybe he can ask you to discuss the project in detail. Also, he can ask you like which particular problem is being solved by your project. Then he can ask you some particular part of your project, like for example, you use a load balancer somewhere. So he might ask you the code of load balancer, like how have you built this code load balancer? Next, what problems you might have faced while making the project and how you handled them, and what you want to improve in this project further, which library, which database you like. This is also one of the most important question, like which database has you used and why you have used SQL or why you used Firebase. So there will be no difference between SQL, no SQL, and so on. So these are some of the questions that you can expect out of your projects. So basically, when we talk about the normal hiring process of any company, like that was basic, what you need to study, what are the resources, and how you can master those things, right? Now come on to the hiring process of companies. So mostly, for most of the companies, the hiring process consists of these rounds. So the round one is basically an online challenge or online coding test. So it consists of 2 to 3 coding questions on any platform like HackerRank, HackerEarth, or it's like different companies have. You might or in some companies tasks on DBMS, SQL, computer fundamentals, aptitude, or in some companies a mix of coding questions and in the first round. There are sites like if you're upon your placement, so GFG and LeetCode are the best sites for practice. Questions on each and every company-wise questions, like put the filter, for example, you're filtering for Amazon. So you'll see all the questions that Amazon has asked in its previous years, right? So you can practice according to company as well. Next is interview bit. It is also one of the sites that help you to practice timely. Like you can give LeetCode weekly contests also, like they are held in the morning 8 a.m. or so. So those help you to practice questions in a timely frame so that you can clear all your company's rounds. Next is MCQs. So there are different sites for preparing for aptitude, like IndiaBits and so, and GFG is also there. Next, when you talk about if you clear moved upon to your technical interview, it depends upon the interviewer. Like it's 30 minutes to 1 hour, and they skills like basically the skills that I've already mentioned, your DSA, project, DS, DBMS, OS, SQL. These things are discussed in your technical companies, but I would say product-based companies, 60 to 70% of your interview is based upon DSL, right? Some questions on your resume. Yeah. The number of technical rounds can differ from company to company. Some companies have 2 technical rounds or 3 or 4, like it can range, right? Then HR interviews. So like what are the frequently asked questions in HR interviews, like when you search for HR interviews, but don't take HR interviews lightly. Like I have seen cases where people are brilliant, like they have good CGPA, they have good hold over DSL goals, they are 5-star, 6-star coders on CodeChef, but they couldn't make out in the HR round. So HR round, I was interacting with one recruiter today only, like she's a recruiter. I was interacting with her and I got to know a lot of things. So she also mentioned that HR interviews are not to be taken very lightly. So you should prepare for them as well. Like you should read about that company, the values of that company, mission statement of that company before going on to sit for the HR interview. basic, you should be confident enough, you should be like communicate yourself better, don't lie anywhere. And yeah, this is basically the key behind HR interviews. So interview skills, when we talk about, first of all, listen to the question carefully. Like the interviewer is trying to convey it to you. Many of the times we are not able to clear the question only in our mind, and we end up getting a wrong answer before. So the first and the most important thing is clarify the question. Like it is totally the question, and don't see why I should ask it. Must check it with sample test case. Understand the question very well. That then you can like start writing. You can ask the interviewer if you need to write the full code or only the snippet is right. Like you can clarify it from the interviewer. Then you can start with a brute force approach, or then you can slowly you can improve your solution, and then you can implement your solution so that interviewer knows that yeah, the person is thinking and he's answering the question, right? So when you don't know the solution, what can you do? So first and the most important thing is don't lose confidence and never say that you don't know directly. Like it's wrong approach to say that you don't know. Just try to get some hints from the interviewer. Like if you are totally blank, you don't know anything, maybe something close to that particular topic, you might have learned something or somewhere. So that will show that the person is a bit positive, like he's positive towards things, he wants to learn more, he wants to know more, he wants to expand his knowledge. So that's why you should like he's judging you on how you approach something you haven't seen it before, right? So you can ask hints from the interviewer, like he'll be happy to help you. So what are some of the common? So if you have already solved a question, and when we move on to the interview, we start coding directly. First of all, try to understand the question. Think of the best. Then try to show that you are thinking. It's not like you go and just code, it's fine. No, they're not looking for somebody who is perfect. They're looking for somebody who is in the learning phase, who wants to learn, who wants to expand his knowledge, right? Don't check corner cases for code editor. Like we should always check corner cases for the code editor. These are the mistakes that I'm telling, right? People generally write pseudocode, but they're asked to write the complete code. Like when interviewer says you have to write the complete code, then you have to write the complete code from the header files till the end. People sometimes they function and variables name like int abc. So try to like this everything comes in the code quality, like how quality code you have written. So you should have the variable names according to the particular question, the function name according to the particular question. Like int abc doesn't mean anything, right? Also, you should have proper indentation. You should stay quiet while thinking or coding the solution. Don't stay quiet while thinking or coding. This is also one of the mistakes. You should try to convey the things that you are thinking in mind. Like speak a bit louder when you are thinking. Interacting with the interviewer about your interview process, right? Next, you should take care of complexity and think of how you can reuse your code. Like don't make functions again, don't write the same part of code again and again, try to make functions. So this was a deck that I prepared for today, and you can is like I've given the link of LinkedIn or Twitter, but other profiles also, like in the starting I gave this link, you can get to all these social medias. Now you are welcome to any questions that you have. Like you can go through this link and you will get to see the social media profiles you want to connect. We can have, like if you have any doubts or so, we'll get in touch with that. But for today's session, let's move on to the Q&A round.
That was a great session, Arsh. Thank you so much. It was quite insightful. And so I've got a few questions in my DM. So I'll just share them and you can answer those. So the first one is, how deep do you want to learn a language? So when you say you should know an OOPS language, how deep would you want to learn it before you go into algorithms or other stuff?
I would say that is very important. If you are like starting with your coding journey, you are to learn any object C++ or Java. So try to make those fundamentals clear because they'll only take you a long way. Tough, like you don't have any clue. If your fundamentals are strong, you'll definitely reach to some or the other solution through those fundamentals. So I would say you should have an in-depth clarity of that particular language, either it's C++ or Java. Like I'm not saying at once, like they way on like right when you're practicing, you'll practice a lot of questions. The things will itself. Don't start. But yeah, you should understand the things better and you will remember each and everything thoroughly.
Okay, moving on to the next question. The second question is GPA criteria. So, what is a good GPA that'll make sure you can you can attend all the interviews or attend all the companies?
Yeah, this is the most, I would say, controversial question. Like when you're first year or fresher, said that CGPA is not very important. And if you have a CGPA of around 7 or 7.5, then you are eligible for almost all the companies, right? This is the general thing that we as freshers know. Like people are telling us ki 7, 7.5, it's okay. You will be allowed for all the interviews. But let me tell you that whenever you have like companies coming into your campus, two perspectives, right? On campus and off campus. Whenever companies visit your campus, they'll put a criteria. Yeah, you can allow everyone who is above 7. Mostly companies have a criteria of 7 for eligibility. Like above 7, like 6.5 to 7, like from college to college. In some private colleges, the companies criteria even higher. Like it can range to 8 also, 8.5 also. In government colleges, tier 1, tier 2 colleges, the CGPA criteria is a bit low. It's 6.5 or 6 or 7. But that eligibility criteria, your CGPA plays an important role. So let me tell you why. When you have a good CGPA, that you will be shortlisted for further rounds. Like for example, 200 students sat for the test, and the questions were very easy. Around 70 to cleared the test with 100%. So do you think move on all the 70 to the interviews? No. The next criteria that they have for shortlisting is your, but it's very difficult for the HR or the recruiter to filter out all the students from those 70. So the thing that they see after that is GPA. Then they'll say shortlist on the basis of GPA. Like out of 70, if they'll say they'll take interviews for 30 people or 20 people, so pick top 20 people with high CGPA. So that is something where your CGPA plays a part. Like you'll get more and more opportunities when we talk about on campus. Like people, and for off campus also, GPA plays an important role. Like definitely have a good GPA on your resume, so that will have a good impact, and you can better get referrals also. Like the chances of referrals might increase, depends upon the person from whom you are taking the referral from. Also, like generally we like so and so person GPA of 6 or 6 has gone to Amazon, but that's an example. Now, don't as a generalized object, treat him as an example. It's like an example, but don't generalize. Like if he has gone to Amazon with 6 CGPA, so I should also have 6 CGPA to go to Amazon. It is not the case. So I have explained you what is the importance of GPA. Minimum GPA is like as Rohit's question was. So minimum GPA is 6.57 for most of the colleges, most of the companies in tier 1 colleges. Maybe it can range to 7.5 or 8 in some other colleges. I hope that's clear.
Okay. So the next question is for a non-CS student, where can you learn all the CS fundamentals and what's a good resource?
With like you have YouTube as a very good platform. Like for these CS fundamentals, I would say a lot of video content is available. Like when you talk about book, known as Galvin for operating system, that's very good source for. It's also there. Like there's a playlist by Gate Smash, I guess. Gate Smash or playlist is there on YouTube for operating system. For DBMS, there's a playlist, I guess. So like cleared in those playlists will like be for us to clear interviews for like if they ask anything from CS fundamentals. So those playlists are sufficient. Watch them, make your own notes, and revise them before the interviews. That would be sufficiently fine. Apart from that, what you can do is there is a section on GFG, like last minute notes on OS or last minute notes. So go through them as well before going. Be sufficient for CS fundamentals, what I would say. Or if you are like more interested in those particular subjects, then you can go for reading books in those subjects. Right?
Okay. Moving on to the next one. How to make the interviewer think that you're thinking the solution when it's not a new question for you.
Yeah, this is might tricky, but it depends upon the interviewer also, right? Whenever you go to an interview, like you sense what the interviewer wants from you, right? The type of interviewer, this question, the answer of this question basically, like whenever like you can sense like if I'll directly give the answer, so what he's going to think or what he's not going to think. What you can do is like whenever you get a question, try to start with the basic approach. Like mostly this is being followed, this has been followed, it's the approach that is working, right? So try to start with the brute force approach, explain him the solution, move on to the next efficient approach, explain him the solution, move on to the next efficient approach, and you can ask him like if you want him to code or not. Whenever you will get to the most efficient approach, he'll ask you to code it. So this is the way you can let him know that yeah, you are thinking from. And when you ask more and more the interviewer related to that particular question, then he'll get to know, yeah, like the person is thinking and he's like the question he's clearing the question again and again. Like you should clear in a perfect manner. So that is something that makes him think that the person has a learning capability and he's trying to think on the spot. Maybe. But in general, some cases like the interviewer wants you to code, that's fine. It depends upon the interviewer as well, Rohit. It's not generalized, I would say.
Okay, so you're expected to read the interviewer's mind at that point, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is how to prepare a resume. Do you also prepare a cover letter?
Yeah. When I talk about resume, so there are a lot of things that are important from for making a resume. Like you should have, like I have one complete video, like I have discussed on to what all things you should think before making a resume, or what are some of the important tips for making a resume when you're applying off campus. So that video is available on my channel. If you are like, if you want to go through that, like there are given some templates also. Like the resume should be ATS friendly, and what is the most important thing you should avoid. Like you should not mention your hobbies. So this is something that is not relevant. You should not mention your address. Photograph is not required in a resume. So these are some of the things that you should not do in your resume, and try to highlight the particular tech stack, the particular skills that you have, explanation of a bit of explanation of your projects or your experiences. So these are some of the important parts of your resume, and I have given some templates on that video that I've shared. So I'll share the link with Rohit also afterwards, and you can get in touch with him. We'll definitely, you can go through that video on my channel. I'll share the link of my channel. You can go through this link, that is linktree.ee. You will get to that video where I've discussed completely on resumes, right? And cover letter, when we talk about, yeah, so cover letter you will require, it's basically a piece of email that you send to a recruiter along with their resume. So that is known as cover letter. So that is basically a gist of resume only, like what all experiences you have, what all skills you have, and why he should forward your resume, or why he should consider you for being a part of the interview process. That is basically a cover letter. I'll share the template for cover letter as well as for resume. Right?
So moving on to a very
unsolved question, which is competitive versus projects. How do you find the right balance?
I recently saw a video with the Google SDA 3. I don't remember his name, but yeah, Pratik Bhaiya. Yes.
As like that is that for quite some time, and people are generally getting competitive programming or projects. So I would say is it totally depends upon interest. Some people have it's not that they're preparing for placements, they are doing CP. For them, CP is like a sport, like they kind of passion, like they enjoy doing CP. So for them, CP is perfectly fine. And for some people, development, like they like development, they like developing projects, building websites or so. So for them, projects are good. But at the end, everybody is looking for a good placement. Most people are looking for a good placement. So for that, you should have a balance between your projects as well as your DSL goals. So for DSL goals, good at competitive programming, your DSL goals will automatically be improved. So that is balanced. You should have some good projects resume to take the interview, time during the interview. So I would say balance between both of them would be more than sufficient. If you are not good at CP or you don't want to do CP for interview preparation, go for this GFG and LeetCode. They'll help you fetch a very good job at a product-based company, no issues. And you can have one or two good projects side. That is perfectly fine. And if you love only development, you don't like DSL goals, you don't like competitive programming, then there is a lot of scope for you in startups. Then you can go to startups, they'll hire you for particular technologies, like you should be a good Android developer, you should be a good React Native or React. That depends upon your particular tech stack. So they hire according to that tech stack. So definitely startups are for you if you only love development and you want to go in that particular development field. I hope that's clear.
Awesome. There's a question about HR interviews. How do you?
Basically, for HR. Okay, so for HR, I've already mentioned, like, to a recruiter from Microsoft today, like what all things are important or so. So we had a discussion and regarding like interview, it basically judges like whether the person, like it's a kind of, it's not something where they'll test you on your technical skills. They'll basically see that whether the person is able to communicate well. Hello. Like whether he will be able to survive in the company, present in the team meetings, aligns with the values of that company. For example, company has their own values. They have growth minds, they have willingness to do mistakes, willing to like empower others. So these are some of the values that companies have. So is aligned to those values. So this is something while in an HR, prepare some basic templates of questions like your introduction, what are your weaknesses, what all if you are in a team project, how will you motivate your team members to do that project, if you have faced any difficulty or failure in your life and how you overcame it. So these are some of the basic HR questions. You should be prepared beforehand for these questions, and you can expect anything in an HR interview. They can ask you to, like, they can even discuss the COVID situation in your area, you don't know. So it can be anything, but yeah, it is more on your personality, I would say. There's no particular preparation, but I mentioned these type of questions before going to an interview, like we need to mention when they talk about failure. You can use at that particular time, right?
Okay. There's one question by Subinoy who asks, how and where do you search for internships? So what's the best platform? How do you look out for them?
There is no perfect platform for internships. Like there are a lot of platforms, but it is up to you, like which suits you the best. Right? Talk about AngelList, or when we talk about Insta, we talk about Hacker Earth, Dare to Compete. So there are a lot of platforms that companies use to conduct their competition. So you should be active on these. Try to check these regularly. You can check on the career portals of various companies where they update these internships. Next, and like resources, your LinkedIn. So be active on LinkedIn. Like most effective resources, LinkedIn, where you get the even if there is some internal hiring, you'll get to know through LinkedIn. So most of the opportunities you LinkedIn apply through them. Like maybe some you need a referral, for some you don't need a referral. So that all the here when you are active on LinkedIn. That's the best platform, and you updated onto whatever things are happening, and try to apply for as many full-time offers as possible. You will land somewhere that you deserve.
Okay, we'll take another, and then we can
Session.
So one question by Rishabh is,
Once you get an offer, can you request for a higher
package, or can you negotiate the package? And if yes, how?
Like when I talk about freshers, it's a bit difficult. Companies generally have a package, like for each and every company, they know that they're hiring a fresh college grad, so they have kept a certain clause that, and we can't negotiate. Like on what basis we can negotiate? We don't have any basis, right? Basis of our skills, that is DSLGO's projects and all. So everybody has those, and we don't have any other full-time experience as a fresher, so that we can vouch on like I have so and so experience, so I should be paid a bit higher. Or you can't compare your current salary to your previous salary, right? So these options are not available to a fresher. So definitely this is not an option for a fresher. But yeah, when you switch jobs, when you move on from one company to another, there is like you can negotiate upon your salary. You can if you like, you can mention you will be getting a 20%, 30% based upon that particular company and recruitment team. So there you can vouch for experience, so that like I am looking forward to so and this much base salary. So able for experienced roles, not particularly or generally.
Okay.
He says,
so Divyam says, when do you think you're eligible for an internship? And like, what is the necessary minimum knowledge that you need to apply for an internship?
I don't think there is any necessary knowledge that you need for an internship. Like you need to decide upon what type of internship you are trying to do. Like it can be an internship with a startup that just wants you to be a good Android developer. So if you have done one course on Android, you have built 2-3 projects, you can definitely apply. You can consider you're eligible for that particular company. Even if you're in your 3rd semester or 2nd semester or 4th semester, it depends upon you. Next, when we talk about internships at product-based companies, so most of the product-based companies have syllabus or the things. So when you feel that you're comfortable, you know the important topics from those fields, you have made your presentation, now you can go and apply for those roles. And it's not like you can't it according to your will. Yeah, from preparation point of view, it is from person to person. But if you're skilled, looking forward to an internship at startup, you can get it at any time. Like with 1 month preparation, 1.5 month preparation, definitely you can apply for just web development roles or Android development or Java development. So it is basically, it depends upon you, right?
Okay. So the next question is by Weber. Is entrepreneur a negative for an interview or a company in general?
It can also be interpreted in two ways. Like I have heard a case where a person mentioned that he is looking forward to a startup or something during, like, he had cleared all the technical rounds of a good product based company offering a CTC close to 25 lakhs, and in the HR interview he mentioned something that he has to pursue, but shortlisted after that. In that, that can be the reason that he mentioned of the startup. So what a company is a long-term relationship with an employee. They don't want that to the hiring process. They're on you and they're recruiting you. So you should be with them for at least 2 years or 2.5 years. So they don't. Definitely they'll over some will be there for them or so, and who will not be going. Definitely, if they have a choice, they'll not prefer a candidate or they'll prefer a candidate. But it can't be generalized, as you say. You can't say that having a startup is a bad thing or no. But you can avoid good skills also. Clear your motives about startup, what you are going to have in that startup, or like what are your plans for that startup. In the interview, if you want to.
Awesome. Another question by Suraj is: are internships a must for a job? And do internships at small companies matter? Like,
No,
or
I
are they
don't
just a
think
waste
that
of time?
internships are important. Internships are must for a placement or a good job, but they will be a plus point, I would say. When you talk about internships at what I generally advise people from like my juniors currently, so they after their third year they have a chance to get an internship, as well as they have two options: whether they can prepare for internships or whether they can pursue any internship in a startup, or whether they can prepare for their placements. So I say that rather than, like, this is the most crucial time that they have before placements, right? These 2 months, June, July, will be the deciding factor onto what they are going to pursue ahead in their careers with. So they can utilize these 2 months onto their preparation for a good product based company. They can learn DSLGO skills and all. After 2 months, 3 months, 4 for good product based companies, rather than if they are doing an internship in the startup after their third placement season. So most of your time will be devoted to development. Most of your time will be devoted to that particular startup, and startups take you for granted. That I have seen, like, not for all, but generally the startups who are very, like, the teams are very small, and so you have to start from, like, long, so you are exhausted and prepare for your interviews, or you can't prepare for your placements well. So it is not recommended to do an internship in startup after your third year, or somewhere where you can't expect a people. Like, if you are expecting that the that is suitable for me and that is the expected package that I am expecting, then put in your best efforts in that internship and get a PPO and you are placed. Done. What you can do is, if in these startups or internship in that startup, you can pursue in your first year, second year. That's perfect time for that. That will count as your experience as well, and not hinder or hamper your placement preparation. Right. So, internships at startups are. But yeah, they will give you a lot of exposure on different technologies, and your development skills will boost a lot.
Coming in. Do you have some time to explain, or?
Maybe we can have for 10 more minutes, and after that they can ping me on my social media. I'll definitely be happy to answer.
Okay,
Yes, we
so
can
let's.
extend that. Questions we can take.
All right, awesome. I'm seeing a lot of questions about your ISRO internship. So a lot of people are interested in what work you did at ISRO and what opportunities are available and how do you get to know about them.
Okay, so basically there is a thing known as cold emails, right? People mail a particular recruiter or they mail a particular person at that company and they expect that they will reply. So it was basically an email that I did to a computer scientist at ISRO regarding my interest in so and so field. Attached my resume, the learning and deep learning. Like I prepared that cover letter, basically me, what I have done, what I'm trying to do, and why I'm interested in that particular thing. So I them where told me about, like, they asked me about which all things I have worked upon. Interview with me, in which they basically regarding my projects, the projects I've worked upon, my proficiency in Python, and some other questions. So after that, I was selected, and I pursued this internship in I pursued it in winter, December 2019 and January 2020. So I did this internship, and this internship was basically based on neural networks. I was not very well versed with neural networks at that time. It was a new field for me, new topic for me. So I was assigned a mentor from ISRO, and they told me the project. Like, I was given the details, what gave me the data sets and all. I can schedule a call accordingly. Yeah, this was the process, and the project was basically like there's a network known as, like, this is a further part of neural networks. So my project was based upon that. I built something from scratch and was able to accomplish, like, it was project was to calculate insurance in the fields of the crop fields in Punjab by taking images from the space. This was basically the project. I can't tell the complete project, but I've given you some hints regarding what the project is called.
I'm curious, given ISRO is a government organization, how is it different from any other company? Like, did you feel like it's different from a tech giant or something?
Like, the first thing is, I was not paid anything for internship at ISRO. Whereas when we compare to internship at Samsung or any other company, like, we are paid a good stipend, right? So that was not a it was not a purpose to earn something through that internship, but basically to gain experience. So I would like a tech company like Samsung and a government organization. So, but yeah, experience and known different tastes. For Samsung, like, you will see that meetings every day. You will have some HR connects. They'll like make you dance in front. They'll make you, like, different things are there in big tech during your internship period. But for it is only up to you, like, schedule your meeting or like the initiative and do the things in a organization. And that is what happened at ISRO. But it's like pretty good and pretty great, I would say. Like, both were good from their perspective.
Okay, that was interesting. Okay, let's take this last question, which is also very common. How are off-campus and on-campus places? Which one is easy, and what are you expected?
Okay. So when we talk about on-campus and off-campus placement, so think from an on-campus placement point of view. So company comes to your campus. You might be having 100 people in CSIT, 100 people in maybe circuital branches, all. 200 people are sitting in the process, right? Companies visiting your campus, they're conducting a test for 200 people, and they're shortlisting maybe 10-15 people for interviews, they are taking away 5-6 people, right? This is the process for on-campus interview. Now let us imagine a scenario that a company is conducting a test off campus. Let me take the example of Goldman Sachs. So they took their test in Feb, and around 1 lakh people registered for the same. Out of those 1 lakh, they shortlisted 2,000 from the first initial test. I guess 5,000. That was the aptitude test. After the aptitude test, they sent the invites for coding test. So 2,000 cleared that coding test. After that, those 2,000 includes full time as well as interns. So they were further shortlisted to after each shortlisted, and at the end the 70.
As far as I have heard.
So they took 70 out of campus opportunity, and for an on-campus opportunity they took 100 or 5 out of 200. So this means you will have on campus, you will have the companies coming to your campus. Definitely it will take 2 or 3 or 5, minimum to minimum, maybe very least chances that they'll take 0 students or very one student. They'll definitely take 4 or 5 people, which is not the case with off campus. You can't say. When we're talking about difficulty level, so difficulty level is almost similar. Like the initial test that the company conducts is a bit more difficult for off campus, but the interview rounds are almost similar for on campus and off campus. But yeah, the number of rounds in off due to the increasing competition, because they crowd more people, right? So this is basically, I hope you understood what I was trying to say. That example, like, I hope the thing.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? So out of
Yeah.
10,000, they only select 70, right? So
Yeah, that's
okay.
the thing.
I think that's all the questions. A little more questions, a few more questions in the Q&A section, and repetitive. If you feel your question hasn't been answered, as Arsh said, you can directly DM him on LinkedIn. He's quite active over there. Even I DM'd him like 5 days ago, and he replied me immediately. So yeah, thank you, Arsh. Thank you so much. We can wrap up this session now. This recording will be available on the same page where you registered. And thank you. Thanks a lot, Arsh.
Thank you so much, Rohit, and thank you the entire team of DSC. Thank you so much for calling me, and upcoming placements and for your DSC chapter as well. Thank you so much. All the best. Good luck. Bye-bye.